there isn't. There's no way to climb out of your individual rank, assuming you have been within 2 divisions for 100 games, outside of playing better. I successfully tricked you into watching this video, though, and while it can't be good for my like to dislike ratio I value so much, I implore you to keep watching, as you may very well be who needs to hear this most. This will sound harsh, not attacking anyone specifically, but I mean, a lot of YouTubers use clickbait. So if you hear your favorite YouTuber in this, I'm not talking about them specifically. Um, Nobody in specific, everybody in general. Not attacking them either because it's called clickbait for a reason. It gets more clicks. The majority of people click on clickbaity stuff, and you need to keep making content, right? There are techniques that you can see the most results with, but these are usually individual or at the very least role dependent. And this doesn't just apply to how to climb out of each ELO videos. This applies to quite a bit. So no rank is so specific that certain things begin applying uh, to any majority within that rank. Um, the tips are usually very generic and are able to be interpreted by anyone as, oh, this is something that I need to get better at. I have literally seen a video where they say that gold players need to be more confident. Like, what the hell are you talking about? Like, this this one is a very, very individual prescription. There are overconfident gold players, there are underconfident gold players. But you know what else gold players need a lot more than confidence? They need to get better at the game. And him prescribing confidence, to me, indicates that he doesn't actually know how they would get better at the game. So you'll know when somebody knows what they're talking about if you're below diamond, pretty much 100%. More than likely, if you're below challenger, this still applies. You'll know they know what they're talking about because they'll have information that fundamentally changes how you see the game. If they claim to have this information and you don't immediately understand it within a fair amount of time you've given to them, they're either lying, terrible at conveying information, or just can't explain specifically to you um, for whatever reason. Maybe you're super hard-headed and stuff, but I think for the majority of the time you'll know when someone knows what they're talking about. You'll go like, oh yeah, I never thought about it that way. Like you'll actually learn. Don't waste time. League is not a game of micromanagements. It's literally common to see lower than plat players with more trivial game knowledge than greater than GM players. In fact, I would say there's a negative correlation between how much trivial game knowledge you have and your rank. This does apply with selection bias, though, because I'm talking about specifically players that I've coached, or at least the vast majority of these interactions. Um, I've gotten this information from coaching, the majority. So lower than plat players who go for coaching will often have already sought out a lot of information sources, and they're not good enough to realize what's bullshit. Um, the higher than GM players will generally not have focused on the useless stuff due to their success, so they will often have less trivial game knowledge. I'm not saying that your average plat player has more trivial game knowledge than greater than GM player, but from what I have seen with coaching, it's certainly not correlatory that better players have more. If you watch an hour of educational content today, as in like polished videos, not like raw VODs, you're probably wasting time. Um, Now, everyone is different, and a lot of the times, if you invest an hour into anything that you consider work, then you'll get better at that thing. So if you spend an hour of like really like taking notes and like very, very focused, it's not infotainment, you literally think it's information or informative, even if it's not the most useful, it might be conducive to you becoming a better player. But the content itself, probably not being very helpful. And if you consider your time valuable, don't be surprised when people who do can put in less time and get better results. And finally, you can cut the video here if you don't care. But these are 5 things that I would mention. They're role specific, and they encompass a much larger league range to actually reflect how the game is generally played. If you're on the cusp, then probably the things below and above will apply somewhat to you. Um, However, pretty much every player below diamond can apply all these concepts, and quite a few diamond master players can also apply them as well, um, or would benefit from applying them quite a bit because they lack even the basics in one of these. All right, I'll just go through them real quick to see if there's any information I maybe need to elucidate a bit more. Basic jungle tracking, knowing what side they're on. Warding when enemy jungle's top side. Effective TPs to get a lane advantage. Basic resets, that means, you know, pushing after you kill them, knowing when you can't. Simple as that. Having presence in mid game, that's something that a lot of top laners lack. Jungle playing to correct lane, knowing which lane they actually need to play to, like having just an idea of which lane is actually going to be the most effective to play towards. Usually that's bot lane. Oftentimes that means getting pressures or mid lane before you go to bot lane. This is also meta dependent. Actually having a plan for your first route, adapting the above two to game state, catching farm when a laner dies, not doing Krugs, and watching the enemy bot grab 2 plates when you could easily defend it, and get more gold and XP yourself. Having map awareness. By the way, these are also sorted roughly in order of importance. Mid, map awareness, contesting pressure. That means usually contesting wave. Using that pressure to get something, doesn't have to be big, just getting something off it. Basic jungle tracking, again, side, basic resets, same as top. AD, contesting wave, same as what I said, contesting pressure in mid, more or less. Understanding trade patterns, being able to actually get in cheater autos when you have a bit more range than them, or when they're going for last hits. Recognizing teamfight threats, knowing who's going to kill you, or blocking. Basic jungle tracking. Support basic jungle tracking, map awareness, basic vision management, having a decent idea of when you can actually use wards versus when you can hold them, um, somewhat in relation to your back timers. Uh, being able to know where to ward, so what side to ward on after mid game, um, understanding warding around objectives, to some degree understanding when you can get the wards, or when it's just pure int to go for that. Understanding when you can actually leave the AD, and tracking summoners, for now, only for yourself. By the way, all these things are too general. Even though I have segmented them in a I believe, a much more effective way than like a per rank generally apply to all roles, this is still too general. If I'm coaching someone individually, I would not just give them these 5 things. I would actually help them with the things they need specifically. And that is the fundamental flaw with these like general tips that every gold player needs, or some bullshit like that. 5 things to focus on Diamond Plus. I was a bit too lazy to do more roles again, but also these things do become a little bit more. Everyone can work on these, so it's not entirely laziness. Power spikes, probably like the biggest thing as we get into like Master GM Chow, like very very important. Tracking enemy jungle, CS counting, deciding what they actually want to do, and playing around their probable decisions. Understanding matchups in detail. This would involve making friends with good players who play the same role as you, ideally. Resetting, a little bit more advanced now. Cheater recalls, item breakpoints, being able to actually get an item advantage, and cutting losses, something that is really hard to get a low player to do. But when you recognize that you're going to get fucked, and actually taking a reset where it's not advantageous to you, but it's the best you can get. And understanding tempo and stop trading tempo constantly, because when you trade tempo constantly for stuff, it tends to work out in lower elos, but in higher elos, you'll get punished because they'll actually roll that tempo on to advantages. People that can actually play and hold tempo, if you give them it, it can be really hard to get back in sometimes. So I would say the best thing you can do is just play a super high tempo playstyle and then roll it back from there and start to use the information gathered from a high tempo playstyle to decide when it's actually good. But definitely sit on the extreme of um, pretty much never trading your tempo once you get it. Okay, good enough? Cool.